Why did you want your own radio show?
When I brought up money earlier, money's nice, but that wasn't the motivation for me. Like, man, if I could get my parents to laugh like that, that right there is the ultimate goal to me. So I think that was like subliminally a goal in the back of my head, was to get my parents to laugh. You know, they always say, you know, do what you love and the money will come. And that's true. It worked for me. My girlfriend or fiance at the time was like, okay, let's map this out. What do you want to do? And I said, I want to be on the radio. I said, I want to have my own radio show. And the steps to get your own radio show, it's pretty difficult, really difficult. And she's like, what else do you want to do? And I said, well, I'd like to write or perform for Saturday Night Live. That seemed like an easier goal than to get my own radio show. So I went and I tried it. I did 4 days on the radio in Cincinnati, and they hired me. So all of a sudden, I've got this dream job that I've always wanted.
I can feel the passion behind the ice baths and the saunas and the, you know, those kind of things. You built success without it. Why are you doing it now, and why is it such a part of your routine?
Here's the truth behind that. I do it completely to be around for my kids. My father died at a very young age. My mother died at a young age. I was extremely overweight. I remember laying on the floor, and the way I let my kids play with me is they'd crawl on me. I was too out of shape to do anything. I want to cliff jump with them. I want to go hike on top of a mountain with them. I want to go ride bikes with them. I want to do everything with them. And that's why I'm doing what I do. I'm trying to be as healthy as possible. And I feel really good.
What I didn't know is that this wasn't something you really stumbled into. I found things that said that you even might have started recording before you even graduated high school. Where you were
always wanted to be on the radio. I got an internship at a TV station. I thought TV was like, ooh, TV, right? But it was so boring. I got out of TV and I got an internship at a radio station. I worked my way up into sports radio. Then I realized the money is in sales, and I did radio sales for about 5 or 6 years.
Well, I'm excited to learn from you because this is a new journey for me. And
well, if I can teach you anything, let me know.
Well, I can. Like, even just the fact that I walk in here, your phone's out. Like, it wasn't a distraction. You didn't tell everyone to be quiet. Like, you just got it out and showed people what you're up to, I assume.
Oh, you mean what I put? Yeah, I shot a little video of us in here. Yeah, I just like to see. So my radio show's over at 10, and for years since social media started, I thought I need to keep like different storylines going once the show's off at 10. So the show's off at 10, but you might follow me to the gym at 11. You might follow me in the steam room at 12. You might see me on the treadmill. You might see me have a lunch with my wife or a snack at 3:30. And then here I am here. So my thought is maybe tomorrow someone might call into the radio show and go, hey, I saw you in a podcast. What was going on in the podcast? Oh, I was with this really nice guy, James. You want an interview? You know what I mean? So I keep that storyline going when I'm off the air.
Yeah.
I kind of have like 3 or 4 different storylines going at different times.
I think that getting started in social media, you might just have this perfection syndrome of like, was it like, were people talking in the background, and was it this right? And where do you post, and how do you post? And that was some of the stuff I've struggled with. And what Dawson is opening up to me, and what I see people like you that are having success, is it's organic.
Yeah, you got to be as real as possible. You know, it's funny you say that. I was shooting a video with my wife yesterday for her project. She's got a side project called Love Pup Plus, which is a tremendous, incredible, very innovative concept she has with dog rescue and dogs. We were shooting a video yesterday, and we're doing it all. You know, like I'm filming her, she's on the pool, in the pool that Dusty made. Yeah. And I got to hit this app to fire up the bubbles. And so my camera goes off a little bit to the right, and I hit the bubbles go off, but the camera's off. And I say to her, I go, after I'm done filming, I go, hey, it's a little off right here. Let's just post it. She's like, no, that looks stupid. So I had to redo it. But like part of me was like, that's authentic. That's what happened. But at the same time, she's got a different level of professionalism that she's trying to hit where I'm not. Like flaws and mistakes are part of my shtick. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's kind of what happens. If there was a noise in the background or a camera was off on my radio show, that's just my personality. Yeah. But for her, that's not the way it is. She likes everything to be perfect, you know? Yeah. So follow Love Pup Plus on Instagram. Check her out.
Well, I want to hear more about it. Let's get into it because I want to talk about some of your side projects. Right now, it would be hard pressed to find somebody in Arizona that doesn't know who you are.
Oh, well, thanks.
But if you were to put together a resume right now and defining who you are and what you do, what would your answer be?
I would say that I am a host of a nationally syndicated radio show, morning radio show. That's what I am.
I love that you say.
As far as professional goes, my husband and father first.
Yeah. So someone gets caught up on this word syndicated. What do you mean by that?
Well, That's a good question. Syndicated means I'm on a bunch of different radio stations in a bunch of different cities, but I'm also on the iHeartRadio app, which is free all over the world. So it's kind of syndicated, really kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
For example, our show, when we get off the air, it's a podcast, right? You can podcast it, and we have over 300,000 downloads in Los Angeles. I'm not on in Los Angeles, but 300,000 people are listening to us in Los Angeles. So I guess you could say I have a radio station in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can listen to us anywhere at any time. It's great.
We're doing a financial literacy series right now. We're just teaching financial principles. And I feel like the real estate world has stole this term syndication.
Oh, really?
And like they claim it. And like when you hear syndication, it's like, no, you can syndicate anything. You can syndicate a radio.
Yeah. I look at that
broadcast.
Sometimes in the restaurants. Franchises, I call them, they're syndicated.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, Rubio's, it's syndicated? They're all over the place, right? Same thing.
Well, let's give people that are listening a little bit of your background. From what I found, what I didn't know is that this wasn't something you really stumbled into. It seemed that you knew that you were going to be an entertainer of some sort and that you started early. And I found things that said that you even might have started recording before you even graduated high school and some of those kind of things. And I found some stuff around improv. Like, tell people a little bit about your journey, how you got into where you were.
Always wanted to be on the radio. Now, as the evolution of that dream goes, being insecure about things, I realized later when I look back at life that I hit every aspect of radio except the on-air talent part. Like I got into promotions, I get into sales, right? But I didn't go for the talent part until much later in my radio career. Now, I started audio recording my family when I was a little kid. I interviewed my friends, I interviewed my parents. I had those cassette recordings of those things. I did those my entire life. And then I got a shift in college radio. I did a little college cable radio station. I did some stuff there. And then I got an internship at a TV station. And I thought TV was like, ooh, TV, right? But it was so boring. It was so boring. I got out of TV and I got an internship at a radio station. And that's where I got to see, like I drove the van, I hung up the banners, I welcomed the bands into the radio station. I have a history, it was an incredible gift for me to do that because I met bands like Nirvana before anybody knew who Nirvana was. I let them into the radio station and we ate pizza together, bands like that. Depeche Mode, it was an alternative radio station. Yeah. And then I got into sports. My first job was at a sports radio station and I knew nothing about sports, which I think was great for me because I didn't care who these athletes were. I was there with Michael Jordan. I met Michael Jordan. I took pictures with Michael Jordan. I was there when he won his first championship. I was there with Mike Tyson, and I didn't care who these people were. Right now, I do.
Yeah.
But when you don't care, you have a different attitude around them, and I think they like that, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So I worked my way up in sports radio. Then I realized the money is in sales or on-air talent. If you're doing mornings, Yeah. You do a different shift on a radio station, it's not a lot of money. But if you do morning radio or you're in sales, you make a lot of money. So instead of going for the on-air part, I went to the sales part. And I did radio sales for about 5 or 6 years. That's where I met my beautiful wife. And then it got to the point in life where we were going to get married. And it's kind of like, what do you want to do with your life? Do I want to be in radio sales? I tried to buy a radio station. I've never talked about that before. I tried to buy a radio station, a small station in northern San Diego. That didn't work out. But I kept trying different things, I tried to buy, at one point, I thought I'd be the yogurt king, frozen yogurt king. I tried to buy a couple of yogurt shops. That didn't work out. Yeah. And then my wife, my girlfriend or fiance at the time was like, okay, let's map this out. What do you want to do? And I said, I want to be on the radio. I said, I want to have my own radio show. And, well, what are the steps to get there? And the steps to get your own radio show, it's pretty difficult, really difficult. And she's like, what else do you want to do? And I said, well, I'd like to write or perform for Saturday Night Live. And that seemed like an easier goal than to get my own radio show. So my wife sat down and with me, and we came over like, well, how do you get on Saturday Night Live? Well, most people on Saturday Night Live come from a place in Chicago called Second City or a place called the Groundlings in Los Angeles. In the Groundlings, you have Lisa Kudrow, Conan O'Brien, Kristen Wiig. They were all Groundlings, and a whole bunch of other people were Groundlings. So that was L.A. I was living in San Diego. So I tried out for the Groundlings, and I made it. And I'd never done anything like that in my life. And I just kept driving up to L.A. every weekend, taking classes and performing with the Groundlings. And then at one point, the guy that hired me in sports radio, he lived in Cincinnati. He always thought I was funny and talented, and he asked me to audition to be on the radio in Cincinnati. And I was like, okay, I'm doing this improv here. Hopefully that was a pretty good foundation for me to try radio. So I went and I tried it. I did 4 days on the radio in Cincinnati, and they hired me. And I'd never been on the radio before. So it worked. So all of a sudden, I've got this dream job that I've always wanted. That was in 1996. So now here I am later.
Yeah. Why? Why did you want your own radio show? You get people that they want to go into a certain industry because they see what they can earn possibly, or it might have a certain status that comes along with it that would make their parents proud. And, they went and got this degree or whatever it may be. Like, why did you want your own radio show?
Well, I think part of it, when I brought up money earlier, money's nice, but that wasn't the motivation for me. I'll never forget, I have 3 examples. My mom was listening to a radio show called Jeff and Jer in San Diego. And I remember her telling me a story that she heard on the radio, and she was repeating the story to me, and she was laughing so hard she was crying, repeating the story. And I was like, man, my whole life I wanted to make my parents laugh. And my mom was laughing so hard telling that story. Then I remember one day, do you remember these guys called the Jerky Boys?
No.
They used to do prank calls, and they would put them on DVDs, these prank calls. And I had a DVD.
I'm sure I've heard it because I love the prank call stuff.
Oh, they're freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Right? So I remember putting the disc, the CD in my car, and my dad was in the front seat. And I go, check this out, Dad. And I press play, and the first crank call airs. And my dad was laughing so hard, he was crying. And I'd never seen my dad laugh like that. And I was like, man, if I could get my parents to laugh like that, that right there is the ultimate goal to me. So I think that was like subliminally a goal in the back of my head, was to get my parents to laugh. I don't know if I ever got them to laugh that hard, but I got them to laugh. And so that's kind of what motivated me. And then they always say, do what you love and the money will come. And that's true. It worked for me.
Yeah. Who was the first person that told you this probably isn't going to work out, or go get a real job, or something along those lines? Do you remember any of those conversations along the way? I remember
my wife's boss. But when I got the job in Cincinnati, right? So I was a sales guy, and I was an okay sales guy, I was probably making I think my biggest year was $49,000 a year. I had a nice condo on the beach. My wife was making about $75,000 a year. And I quit to go to Cincinnati to do a radio show. And we just got married. And her boss said, it's really hard to do a radio show. Let me pitch this to you. Stay here and let him try it for 3 months. And if it doesn't work out, you can come back. You're still here. It's like her boss was really worried that I wasn't going to make it.
Yeah, had an exit plan for it, or let's see, you had the parachute on just in case.
A bonus for you, right? It was like a big bonus. Like if you stay, it was like a $5,000 bonus at the end of 3 months. And at the end of 3 months, I had already won best DJ of the year. I had broke all these records in Cincinnati just in the 3 months I was on there in Cincinnati. Because one of the things that I was doing, one of the things I still do to this day is I don't know what anybody else is doing. I do my own thing. I don't know, like someone said, like the way Rich and I syndicated our show, there's ways to syndicate a show. We did it our own way. Now, it was backwards a lot, but it worked. And now we have a pretty good system, but we just kind of figured things out and did our own way. And that's kind of how I did the radio show in Cincinnati. I just kind of flew by the seat of my pants. Crazy.
Why do you think you won those awards early?
Because our show was out of control. My show was, I didn't know what I was doing. Like I had a guy, the guy that hired me in the sports station, he was like, I just want you to go nuts. Do whatever you want. Just go crazy. And so I did. So there was a show in San Diego called Jeff and Jer. Legendary radio show. Clean show. My dad would tape those shows on a cassette on a Monday and send them to me in the mail. So I would listen to them all weekend long, and I would do what they did that next Monday. There wasn't the internet there, wasn't internet around. So I would take what they did and I would amp it up a little bit. Or I would just not have any ceilings on my thought process. I'd be like, why? No one ever said you can't do that. They just do it.
Yeah.
We're just craziness, just whatever, fun freedom to just be as wacky as possible.
And was that authentic for you, or did you feel
Extremely
like there was a subtle, like a different character or an alter ego was there? Was that just you and a mic?
It was just me. It's just kind of the way I am now. I feel the difference between now, the radio show now, is there's a lot of structure. There's a lot of dollars involved in our radio show now. So there's a lot of higher ups. So it's a little bit different now. I actually feel better now than I did a few years ago, because a few years ago I had managers that would I felt that they were just waiting for me to make a mistake. Yeah. You know what I mean? But now I've got people that back me up now, which is great to do a radio show.
You would say something and Rich would look at you like, you're going to get the text. Yeah.
Suspend us without pay or that kind of stuff. The last 4 years or so, 5 years was a pretty crazy time. Now it's great.
Yeah.
Those people are gone.
Well, take us from Cincinnati to the early 2000s and working your way to Tucson, Arizona.
Cincinnati, the ratings are through the roof. I'm killing everybody in Cincinnati. It was amazing, and I loved Cincinnati. And so a competitor there, they couldn't beat us. They couldn't beat me. So what they did, and I didn't know I was in it until later when I look back, they hired me away. So my competitors couldn't beat me, so they offered me a job in Houston. So, and it was for a lot of money. That's when the money started coming.
Yeah.
It was for obscene amount of money.
Yeah.
Just a little backstory on money. I was making $49,000 a year. When they hired me in Cincinnati to do mornings, the boss, the manager guy goes, "Hey, listen, we know you're in sales. You make a lot of money. How much will it take to get you over here?" And I was like, 75. And they go, "We'll give you 65. I said, "I'll take it." So I already made more money, and they thought it was, so now Houston hires me for a crazy amount of money that I was not prepared for. And I took it right away. And I learned a valuable lesson there, and that was to never take a job for money. Never take a job for money again, ever, ever, ever. Because we were miserable there. It was a terrible time for us when we were there.
So you saw the dollar amount, didn't do any research on the city, where you might be living, all that kind of stuff. You just said, if someone's going to pay me that much, I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, the neighborhood we lived in was a really nice neighborhood. We had a big, beautiful house. Everything was great. I mean, we took lavish vacations. But all of a sudden, I had to answer to, it was like, let's say you have an hour to do a content. And in that hour, 29 minutes of that hour was commercials. And I had to play 6 songs. So it was like, where do I have content in there? And then when I can't get the content in, the ratings go down. And then when I do the content in, they call me in and say, "You can't do that." I mean, it was tough.
Yeah.
But it was also, as far as a radio performer goes, it was like radio school for me, because I learned a lot about radio. They brought in a talent coach that just beat me down, by the way, I hated, but I love now. I've actually hired him since then because he was amazing. He was an amazing coach. But at the time, I hated him. He'd be like, "Hey, you did this in 3 minutes." And I'd be like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, if you did 3 minutes, you could do it in a minute. And if you could do it in a minute, you can do it in 30 seconds. And I was like, "What?" It was just, they would sit there with a stopwatch and time me, everything I said. And then, I might have a little authentic ADHD. They'd be going, "Okay, in 3 minutes, you talk about this, 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 and this." And they'd be like, "Talk about 2 things. Just talk about," it was a crazy time in Houston, right? So what happened in Houston was we were there from 98 to 2000, and ratings went up. Ratings were going great. Revenue was going in. In fact, at one point, it was a country station. Our country station was the #1 country station in the country, right? Uh-huh. So we were doing really well, and I was the morning show there. Great relationships with a lot of the country artists. The company sold the radio station, and I told you my contract was pretty heavy. The new company didn't want to pick up my contract, so they had to buy me out, which was cool, but also not cool, because I got paid a lot of money to not go to work, and that screwed with my head a little bit. I was just in the driveway at our house, like playing with remote control cars, and I wasn't on the radio, and it was really a weird time. I think it was 8 months. 8 months I was out of work, and as soon as the word was out that I was out of that station, I got a lot of job offers. I had Washington, D.C., Chicago, Sacramento, Salt Lake City, a bunch of different places offered me jobs, but I didn't want to do country radio anymore. I was like, forget that. And that's when I met Rich. Rich was in Dallas, and I was speaking at a radio convention, and he was at the convention, and him and I hit it off, and her and I decided to really focus on having a family. And that's when a guy by the name of Mark Medina Mark Medina, he was at Caracue in Tucson. He said, if you guys come here, I'll let you do whatever you want. He goes, you can talk, you can not talk, you cannot play music, you can play music. I don't care about the time, I don't care about the temperature. He's like, just come here. Now, I grew up in Tucson. I grew up in Tucson and Chandler.
Why though? Did you see some sort of talent? Was it straight off of your resume, what you'd produced already? Like why was he offering you complete freedom?
Well, I was in a huge radio market. So Tucson at the time was market 64. Houston was like market 5. So I was in one of the biggest cities in the world doing really well. And I happened to be out of work. But there was no money, right? Which again, I told you, I took a job for money. This was a job for no money, right? But the freedom and the potential. So I had the job offer to go back to Cincinnati at the same radio station I'd left, and all these other radio stations. But I talked to Rich, and I was like, let's go to Tucson. In fact, at one point, I was in the garage. I had a phone in my garage. It wasn't wireless. It was connected to the walls in the garage. Moving truck was loaded. We were leaving Houston. And Cincinnati was on the phone. We want you to come here. And on the other line, click, click, was Tucson. Tucson was like, we want you to come here. And then Rich called my cell phone. Where are we going? I go, hold on, click, click. And I told Cincinnati, thank you, but no thanks. And it was for more money. It was for more money than Houston.
Yeah.
Right. So went to Tucson for no money. And we made it happen. We crushed it there right away. They put us on this is really weird. They put us on in Santa Barbara. Right. So we were in Tucson for a couple of years. They put us on, they syndicated us in Santa Barbara. And that was going really well too. But at the time, Santa Barbara, we were on a hip hop station in Santa Barbara in 2003, and the average income was $250,000 a year. Nobody was listening to hip hop, and we were number one. Nobody was making money listening to hip hop, so they flipped the format, so we lost that. Then in 2006, they put us up in Phoenix.
Let me pause you before you go there, because I think in a lot of people's journey in chasing their dreams, inserts the opportunity to bring in a partner. Mm-hmm. You're living in Houston. Mm-hmm. You didn't know Rich before?
No, I was doing everything myself in Houston. I had a woman on the show. It was a brutal time. I had a board op, someone who would run the board for me, and that was it. But I'd be at the radio station 3 a.m. till 6 p.m. every day. Tell me, can you remember any of those scenarios or any of those moments with Rich where you thought you could go build a future with him? Yeah. So her and I were trying to have a family. We had already had twin girls, and they had passed away. It was a really, really rough time. And I was like, I need to spend time with my wife. I need to spend time with her. So when I went to when I went to New Orleans for this radio convention, I met Rich, and I was like, I'm looking for somebody that's kind of handle the business of the radio show, so that when I get off the air, I can go be with my wife and we can try to start a family and work with her. And he was like, I get it. Because I get it. I'll do that. I can be in the meetings for you. I can do whatever. So when we formed our partnership, it was almost like we talked about it, but we also didn't talk about it. It was like, I did the on-air business of the radio show like it is now. Anything that's business-wise on the radio, I drive it. Behind the scenes, he's hitting all the buttons. He's going to a lot of meetings. He's talking to all the corporate guys. He's got this great relationship with all those guys. So it's kind of like that's how it's evolved, and it's great. It's a great relationship.
If someone didn't know Johnjay and Rich, how would you describe your personalities as far as business partners?
That's a good question. As far as business partners, we're 50-50.
No, what I mean is like, I'm more outspoken and I have the vision. I'm the dreamer, and Rich is the one that kind of pulls the reins and keeps us on the tracks, he's the clerical side, and I'm the squirrel. You mentioned the ADHD and all that stuff.
I'm a little bit of the squirrel part, and he's a little bit more balanced. Sometimes when I go off the rails, I'll call him, and he'll try to like wheel me back in, or if I let my brain go a little crazy on we just signed a new 5-year deal, so that gives me a lot of peace. But before that, I was like really sensitive to lots of things, and he would be like, calm down, we're okay, everything's gonna be okay. And then there are times where he's lost his mind, and I bring him in. But he's really centered. He's really really funny. But he also has a pretty good logical business side to him too. So so he needs to sleep more. He doesn't sleep a lot. He needs to sleep more. And I think I'm a little bit more of the creative stuff, but also I get a lot of creative. I'll say to him, hey, there was this plane crash and there was this one survivor. And I go, I know this is sensitive. I said, but there's something there that we can do on the radio show. And he was like, what if we had people call up and tell us, hey, I should be dead, but I'm not. And I was like, oh, that's really good. But let's wait a few days because it's too sensitive till plane crashes happen. And then, we did it, and it blew up our phones. It was humongous. Everyone's got a story where they should be dead. Yeah. But that's kind of how we work things out. Or if he says something, he throws something up there, and I'm like, I don't know, then we don't do it. If I throw something up there and he goes, I don't know, I try to sell a little bit more to him, and push it, and then I'll be like, I'm telling you, it works. And then we'll do it. And if it doesn't work, I told you so. Yeah. We have a pretty good partnership.
I want to provide as many intangibles as I can to our listeners. And if they're considering a business partnership, what would that show look like if it was the Johnjay and Johnjay show? Where do you feel like you'd be missing?
It was the Johnjay show for, from 1996 to 2001.
Yeah.
So I did, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's good to have a partner. It's really good to have a partner.
Yeah. And I think that oftentimes you might get along with a Johnjay more. Mm-hmm. Like Johnjay might get along with another Johnjay a little bit more because you're similar and you're a little bit more free and outgoing. But what I found, and you saw this in a mutual relationship, you saw the difference between the two business partners of the company that we can dive into a little bit, but very opposite.
Yeah, very.
I mean, really, but
right.
You can complement each other. And
right.
I was just curious what you saw in Rich, and obviously you guys have had lasting power. Like you guys have made it 2 decades and longer and counting.
There's been some bumps in the road.
Yeah.
I think, there's a time where we started to blur in each other's lanes, and he was like, wait a minute, this is you, this is me. Let's stay that way, right?
Yeah.
Let's try not to. So, and then, I remember one time we said to each other when we first started, we were like, okay, so if we ever have problems, we need to see a therapist. We're going to treat it like a marriage. And we did. And we got through it. Like we had some problems, in life, behind the scenes, you've got relationship issues, you got whatever, and it affects the on-air product behind the scenes. So sometimes we try to bring certain things, we share everything on the radio, but sometimes there's certain things we can't share on the radio because there's other people involved. So, but that causes friction, but we were able to stay in our own lanes. We were able to fix it behind the scenes. And now, like my relationship with Rich right now is better than it's ever been ever. Like we have the best partnership. Like I wish other people could have partnerships like what we have. Right now it's fantastic.
I wish people would take that approach. I think after a few big fights, it's just easier to go your separate way. Isn't it just easier than to go and find the right therapist to help us
cope? You know what? I think that's a problem also in marriages too. I think people find the easy way out. If there's a big problem, they leave. And then you get a divorce, and then you get another. Then you find out that was easy. The next time you get married, you get another divorce. It's easier and easier. It's hard to work it out and to stick through it and have a happy, healthy marriage in a partnership, in a relationship, personal or business.
So who calls the therapist right now? Like you have an issue, and is it kind of you both look and say, "Hey, it's probably time. Like let's go work this out," or do you guys have any what's funny code words, anything like that, where it's time?
There was a couple times where I think somebody else called the therapist on us, and then we had it out, and then it worked out okay. Yeah, somebody else did, and then we realized, whoa, hold on a minute, and then we had the tough conversations, and then we overcame it, and it's fantastic. It's also I also kind of have this way of selective remembering, and I also kind of like, all right, I don't need to remember that part anymore. That's a dark whatever, it's gone.
Yeah.
So I don't really remember stuff like that. I just move forward. I also don't like to focus on the past. Anything negative, I just like to move forward. But we're better now. That's gone. We're better now. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, I love that. Yeah. And I'm similar. Hey, listen, is it an issue anymore? If the answer is no, then let's just forget it and move on and go. What do you think a trait that he had that might have been similar that allowed him to have success as you guys were working through things?
Well, the trait that he had is that we were making a lot of money, and he didn't want to lose that. So we had to fix things really fast. Some
staying power, like, hey, it's not worth it. Let's fight through this.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so 2006 now.
2006, there's an opportunity. Well, 2004, actually 2001, we started in Tucson, and I'm like, I got my eyes set on Phoenix. So I remember walking through a Walmart, and there was a T-shirt that had the state of Arizona on it, and it was just plain just the state of Arizona, and I bought a whole bunch of them, and I went to a printing shop, and I had them print up Arizona's Morning Show, Johnjay and Rich. I told Rich, I was like, we got to get Phoenix. And when we go meet with Phoenix at some point, I'm bringing these shirts with us to go meet with them. This is 2001. We go meet with the guy who, his name was J.D. Freeman. He was running Phoenix at the time. Pitch him on Johnjay and Rich, Arizona's morning show. He's like, you guys have been in Tucson 6 months. He's like, relax. 2004, we had this big meeting. Now there's a new woman in charge. Susan Karras, fantastic woman. Go up there. I bring these shirts up, pitch them to her and her staff. Arizona's morning show, we're ready to go. She's like, whoa, wait a minute. We've got this morning show here. Everything's going great. 2006, Hurricane Katrina hits. The morning show that's on the air in Phoenix says some inappropriate stuff. They get blown out. All of a sudden, they call us. We'd like you to come. They worked a deal behind our backs to put us on in Phoenix. So we were driving up. The technology in Phoenix was better than Tucson. So we started syndicating our show. We were live in Phoenix and Tucson at the same time. So we would have to do the show like on a Monday in Tucson. Tuesday, we'd be in Phoenix. Wednesday, Thursday in Phoenix, drive back to Tucson Friday. I mean, we were going back and forth. I had a little place up here in Arcadia, a little condo. I was driving back and forth all the time. We were doing it for the longest time until we redid our contracts, and the contracts where they wanted us based out of Phoenix. So in 2007, we moved to Phoenix officially. And then we were driving down to Tucson all the time. And then we got a place in Tucson. And then eventually the technology just got so much better in Phoenix, so we just blew it all out of Phoenix. So everything's out of Phoenix now.
Yeah, that's amazing. Crazy, right? Now you know, I don't want to say manifested, but you had your eyes set on something, and it was, I will make a strategic move to Tucson, which, I mean, I'm an Arizona native. You're telling me you're going to pack up your family and move to Tucson? I might hit you with a, you sure? But you knew enough about Arizona to...
Well, my dad was the manager of Taco Bell when I was a little kid in Tucson, and then we moved to Chandler when I was 11.
Okay.
And so I knew all of Arizona. My wife was from Arizona, so I had all connection. I was always in Arizona, you know, so I had no problem. I felt comfortable coming back here in 2001, you know. Now it's been 25 years.
This is home.
This is home, yeah.
Yeah. Now it's the age of technology really starts ramping up. 2006, insert social medias, you know, by 2006, what do we have? MySpace was kind of coming live.
I think Twitter hit 2009.
You know, Facebook is right after that, following up.
Right.
Where has social media played a role in your success?
You know, I had this methodology for social media where, you know, we had kids. My wife and I had a son and two kids in 2003. Then we had another son in 2006. And my father, who was from the Netherlands, and my mother's from Mexico, and my father always had photo albums. He took pictures of everything and had these beautiful photo albums, everything written out on the photo album. And I was too lazy to do something like that. So what I decided to do with my social media was, I thought if I ever passed away, I wanted my kids to be able to go back and look at all my social media, and it would be the photo album of our lives. So that's how I treated all my social media. It wasn't about the audience, it was about my family. And that was my main, everything was like, I can't wait to post this. I was sitting outside like one of those jumping castle places, and my son had fallen asleep in the back seat, and my wife was in with the kids, and I had to pee in a styrofoam cup, and I couldn't get out because my kid was asleep. And I remember peeing in the cup and setting it on the cup holder and taking a picture. And I was like, well, this is real. This is what happened. And I posted it. And I remember I got so much feedback from that. I was like, wow, right? It was like this real moment. And I was like, okay, so my kids are going to look back and maybe remember that story. And so that's how it started, you know. And then we go to Pine Top. Wherever we go, there was always pictures of our lives on there. So then one day, I get the newspaper comes out, the Arizona Republic, and I'm one of the top 25 people to follow on Instagram in Arizona. I was like, what? And they called and they were like, you know, what is it? What's your strategy? And I was like, I don't have a strategy. You know, I mean, it's just a photo album for me. And that's I still have that methodology, except now there's so much, it's so different. There's all these algorithms. You got to post at this time, and there's a reel, and there's a carousel, and there's a story, and then there's TikTok, and it's too much, right? So when I try to sit with the authentic point of view that I had earlier, I don't know if that works anymore. And at the same time, I kind of don't care, but then I kind of care now. Do you know what I mean? Because now there's a lot more people involved.
For sure.
Right?
Well, you already built a following as well. Like, I mean, you have such a massive following. And, I mean, what I think of is what it's done for whatever you've chosen to plug into it. I think of like your Love Pup Foundation and those kind of things and what social media has done for that. But you built this following, and that's what I have a real belief in right now, is that if you go and build a personal brand, it will benefit you. Yeah, that's the journey I'm on right now.
I use my personal Instagram a lot to push stuff out to help find homes for our dogs on the Pup Instagram. Like I mix a lot of the social media to help each other out. Yeah.
How has it been just living in a complete glass house? Like everyone knows what you're doing, what you're up to, what's going on, good day, bad day, because you're as active as anyone. Yeah. Like you're just fully exposed. You have any regrets or?
I had a couple regrets. I mean, somehow people find our house. People show up at our house sometimes. A couple weirdos show up at our house.
Yeah.
A couple weirdos show up at our kids' basketball games. We've had, that kind of stuff.
And they're just ultra fans and they're just wanting to be around, or they're just trolls,
It's a little weird. There's a couple of weird ones. But I feel if you leave them alone, they eventually go away.
Yeah.
Not really. Oh,
well, that's a unique thing with kids. Like I loved Vaughn, and he was working out one of your sons for a long time, and I thought that was great to see that. Oh yeah. Your son working out with Vaughn and doing all that kind of stuff to grow, and you kind of get this subcategory of someone getting better at whatever they're doing, and then I have my wife on the other side that's like, hey, should we be putting our kids on here, or is this the smartest thing to do? And there's this kind of strange balance that you have, because there are those people that muddy the waters a little bit.
Well, that's the thing too, like the difference with Rich and me too. Rich was very anti-posting his life on social. He still is. You don't know much about the stuff he posts, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I'm posting all the way through. I'm trying to get people to follow all along. There's a couple times where I've had to post. I've learned a lesson where, all right, if we're eating at this restaurant, I'll post that we're at this restaurant after we leave, right? That kind of thing sometimes, because it sometimes gets a little crazy. But also at the same time, there's really cool moments. Like my wife was, a couple weeks ago, she was in this random city in Connecticut, in a hotel in the middle of nowhere. And this woman walks up there and says, "Are you Blake? Are you Johnjay's wife?" Right? And it's like, wow, the power of radio, the power of social media,
Yeah.
That happened. That kind of stuff happens a lot. We've been in random places. I was in Hawaii, walking in Waikiki Beach, and someone stopped and wanted to take a picture. Like those moments I think the good way outweigh the bad. There's only a small amount of bad people. I think most people are generally good people.
Yeah.
Right?
How do you deal with the negative side of social media?
I just ignore it. I try to ignore it.
Plain and simple.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I remember one time something happened and I was all freaked out about it, and someone says, what you really have is like dirt on your knee. Just a little bit of dirt on your knee. You don't need to go jump and swim in the puddle. If that makes sense. It's like, it's just dirt on your knee. Get rid of it. Just ignore it. So I kind of, and the more you bring attention to something, the more attention it gets. So I just ignore the negative stuff. I just focus on trying to do good content, focus on trying to be a good person, focus on trying to do good things. I have a journal every night and every morning, and I'm always writing, I remind myself, do good, be good. I'm thankful for all the good people around me. There's a lot of good people. In fact, at this very moment in our lives, it's just all good people around us. Am I right? Just all good people. Like, to get to that point in our life is so fantastic.
Yeah. In my mind, if you would have asked me in 2015, I would have seen the radio as possibly like the newspaper. Mm-hmm. Like maybe a dying industry. What have you done to pivot to stay relevant for the last 10 years?
What's really interesting about that is there's a lot of things that are cyclical, right? Like you see phones now are getting smaller and smaller, and now people are trying to put phones in their house now on the wall. It's like, so podcasts, which are huge, and by the way, everyone's got a podcast. They're huge. But a podcast is old school radio. Podcasts now are how we used to do our radio show back in the day, right? It's just long form content.
Yeah.
And everyone's got a podcast, but not everybody knows how to do a podcast. That's the thing. There's like 6 million podcasts. I just saw this thing the other day. We're the number one downloaded podcast in Arizona. Number one, our show.
Come on.
Number 36 in the country, our podcast. In the country, which blew my mind. we're number 36 2 weeks ago. We're number 34 last week. And we do long form content, right? And I think that's the key, but you also got to know how to do it. You got to keep it. I was trying to listen to a new podcast someone told me about. In the very beginning, here's what you get. Hello, we're going to do this, aren't we? Are we going to do this? We're doing it right now. All right, you're going to talk first. I'm going to talk. And it's BS. You got to get to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to get to, like sitting here with you. We just started and we just got to it. And I was like, all right, dude, you got something here, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you get to it. You got to give people the meat. What do they want? All the fluff about check 1, 2. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? There's like a lot of.
Okay, intro. Welcome to the Million Ways to Make a Million. Today we have our guest.
Right.
It's like,
right.
No, hey, thanks for being here. What was your morning like?
Boom. Yeah, get to it. And there's a lot of that doesn't happen. And that's why there's like, I believe I saw somewhere there's like 6-7 million podcasts and maybe like 200 of them bring in revenue, right? I don't know the statistic. It's something like that.
Yeah. I'm going to butch the statistic too, but I heard something along the lines of once you record like your 5th episode or something like that, you're in the top 5 to 10%.
Right.
Like there's how many, like 6 million podcasts, whatever, less than 5% have over 2 recordings,
right?
You know, and a lot of people have them and they get going, but there's something about staying power
and be consistent.
Yeah.
That's the key too. By the way, are you to talk about your leg? Is it an ACL tear?
Yeah.
How'd you do that? I got stuff for you. I'm going to change your life today.
Are you?
Yeah.
I'm into it. I'm here for it.
I'm going to change your life.
Our mutual friend, Cameron and I, we get this new toy and we've got a buddy that is so fun in Utah and he makes movies. Okay. He says, hey, can we use your helicopter for a movie? I'm like, sure. We fly it to Utah and we let him use this, and Cam's geeking out because he gets to fly around and do all these cool maneuvers and, you know, get low to the ground, all that fun stuff. Well, while we're sitting around the movie set, he's like, hey, do whatever you want. He's got all these electric dirt bikes or these Surons around, and I'm like, it's cool. He said, watch out for that one. That one's fast. We basically took the biggest Suron battery and we put it on the smallest frame, and that one goes. I'm like, oh, cool. I take it up the hill and I go look at all their jumps and all that kind of stuff, and I'm riding around and I just get a little extra confident, and I'm going like right around 40 miles an hour, and I'm bobbing down the street, and then I pin it and it gets light on me. And I wasn't wearing a helmet and I didn't think I could get it back down, and so I bailed and I tried to protect my head. So I landed on my feet and rolled, and when my feet hit the ground, my knee just exploded. Just boom.
So meniscus and ACL?
Yep. Fully medial, full ACL, and then partial on the lateral.
Okay, so did they do a patellar tendon?
They did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long ago was it when you did the surgery?
10 days ago, 2.5 weeks ago, something like that.
Are you ready for me to change your life?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so I have so much experience. I have 2 of my kids have torn their ACLs.
Okay.
One kid, he's torn it twice. Have you looked into stem cells?
Oh, yeah.
In another country, stem cells, not stem cells here.
Well, I've looked into Mexico, and I found a solution there, and I'm curious around how Utah just made it legal.
I did hear that about Utah.
And so that's new, and I'm just exploring the options there.
Right, I did hear that about Utah, but I could tell you that I have experience in Mexico, in Cabo and Cancun, 2 clinics. I know I've done it 6 times myself. And I know so much about it now that I trust these 2 clinics with everything in my life.
Come on.
Whatever's going on in Utah, that's great. But I know these people. I've had the scientist in here on that chair.
All right.
Sitting in that chair. The scientist that came up, he worked on the Christopher Reeve Foundation. He lives in Irvine, and they own the clinics in Mexico. And these stem cells, they don't know what they are just yet. So my one son, he tore his ACL. He didn't even get the injections in his knee. He just got the IV drip. 250 million stem cells in an IV drip. It went right into his knee. That dude, he tore it in October, November last year.
No, it was October.
October last year. He is completely healed. No surgery. My other son had surgery, and he just went with me 2 weeks ago and got him injected in his knee and an IV drip. And so I'm waiting for that.
Yeah.
He feels fantastic.
Yeah.
So even though you had this, have you done hyperbaric chambers?
No. So I've got this next week. So I just did my, so you know much about peptides?
Yeah. BPC 157?
So I'm doing the Wolverine stack.
Oh, that's the stack.
Right. So I'm doing 2-a-days right now.
Okay.
Morning, evening. Mm-hmm. I got in trouble because I was going directly into the knee, and they're like, stop. That's just where we had surgery. Right. Stop sticking stuff in where we just had surgery. Right. So he said butt or at least halfway up the thigh.
I do it in the butt.
And then I'm doing HGH.
Okay.
And so he's like, hey, you got to find a clean, like it's got to be in the States. Like don't go cheap on it, and find that. And so that I'm doing the red light, hyperbaric chambers coming up. And then I'm looking into the stem cells.
Where are you doing the hyperbaric?
I don't know.
You got to get real hyperbaric.
Okay. Like Kim has me a little freaked out about this.
Why?
He told me he read something that someone's exploding or something in a hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah, okay, and that's the real hyperbaric chamber. The little kid exploded, but that was bad. They didn't have. He had a toy in there. You can't. When you go into the hyperbaric chamber, you have to not have any metal on you. You can't have anything on. You can't have a book. You can't have your phone. You can't have anything.
So it's like a scan. Like if I was going to go get a CAT scan, no rings, jewelry.
They had screwed up and let this little kid in there with a toy. Like you can't have your watch in there.
Yeah.
You can have your wedding ring on, but you can't have your watch in.
I'm not going to wear it. I'm going to wear nothing.
If you go to the one I go to, which is unbelievable, and there's Super Bowl athletes in there all the time that are injured. You do 90 minutes.
I'm for it.
Pick 10 to 20 sessions. In fact, there's a movie on Amazon. Well, it's anywhere. It's called. It's with the hockey player, famous hockey player, right? Conor McGregor.
Fighter.
Conor McDavid.
Okay.
Hockey player. He tore his ACL, PCL, meniscus, everything smashed into a goalpost. He was like the fastest, best hockey player in the world. They thought his career was over. They were going to do 2 surgeries, and he said, no surgeries. He did PT and hyperbaric. He did 90 days of hyperbaric, he did 40 days of hyperbaric, 2 times a day at 90 minutes. And they watched in the MRIs as the fibers connected. And then at the end, he did it for 4 months. At the end of 4 months, the dude was back in the ice skating, and then he signed a $100 million deal. And now this is like 3 years ago. The documentary is only 45 minutes long. It'll give you goosebumps. Like watching a Rocky movie.
I'm for it.
It's called, it's Conor McDavid. Just Conor McDavid. And you can
I'll make a note for that. I want to watch that tonight.
God, it's a great slang. It's like all that he wants is.
That was to see with Ditches. They did a new MRI, and after no surgery, he was back together.
Yeah, well, I was convinced that at least for my lateral meniscus, that stem cells would have fixed it. Like just at least, I wasn't sure. Like I don't know enough about a full torn ACL. Could these stem cells? But man, I'm just hearing all these athletes, and I hadn't heard as much Mexico as Germany, and now Mexico, I'm hearing so much more. Like
Germany, it's illegal now in Germany.
Yeah, so 8 out of 10 people I talked to are like Mexico.
We're going again in October, but you probably want to go sooner than that. Yeah. But I can connect you with my guy there.
Okay, I'm in,
dude. I'm telling you, you will. I did the most. By the way, I have this
dollar range.
Huh?
Like mine at 10 to 20 was kind of my
20, 25.
20, okay.
Worth every penny.
Okay.
Worth every penny. So I've done it 6 times. And I'm obsessed with cold plunge, hot tub, sauna, right?
Yeah.
So when I did it the first 5 times, I would, let's say I did it on a Friday, Saturday, and Monday I was in the hot tub or the cold plunge, right? And they said, you should wait. But I was like, come on. This last time, I did it 2 weeks ago, and I haven't cold plunged or hot tubbed, and I feel like $1 million freaking dollars. It's a whole different ball game if you just listen to the doctors and do what they say. It's a whole I got injections in my spine. My back feels fantastic.
Yeah,
I am just operating at a different level. I feel so good. I have like some calcium in my heart. I'm trying to reverse the calcium in my heart. I'm doing all kinds of different things.
Yeah,
but these stem cells. My wife had stem cells. She's done. How many times have you done it? Twice? 3 times? 3 times. It's a game changer. And for that, my friend, it will blow your mind.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah,
I'm ready to set some. I mean, I went on 2 golfing trips for the month before I got it operated on. And I just thought, man, like I'm functioning.
Right.
There's got to be an option. And I went and saw the surgeon. He's like, hey, that's about to flip. We need to kind of get that.
They want to operate, bro.
Right. Well,
that's how they make their money.
Someone's going to get my $25 grand. Right. Is it going to be the guys in Mexico or the guys
even after having surgery? I mean, this can fix everything.
Yeah. I just want to.
Yeah.
You know, they said on paper it's a 6 to 9 month recovery. It's like, well, if you can go get introduced to the peptides and the HGH and the hyperbaric, it's like we can now talk in that 4 to 6 month range. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, you go get stem cells after the surgery. It's like, man, we're talking real recoveries real quick to where, hopefully, it was like it never happened.
Where are you getting your peptides from?
I have a buddy that owns a
Compound
yeah.
Here?
Yeah,
Or-
he ordered it, in Gilbert.
Okay. And same with HGH?
Yeah.
Same guy? Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get?
He does the stem cells now with where you are, your process to, like, if you do it in the next couple of weeks, like, that thing is going to heal so fast because your stem cells are going to go immediately.
Right, to where you
There's
need it.
nowhere
Right to it,
like,
yeah.
Let's just say you wait a few months and you have a pain in your arm.
Or my hip because I'm on crutches and I'm off balance or something.
Today are going to go straight to that ACL.
I love
Yeah,
that. Okay.
You could go.
It's like a Tylenol. How does a Tylenol know?
Yeah.
Right. You could go like Friday and
back by Sunday.
and be back. You would probably take the freaking helicopter down there.
It's a little weird. It's
Is
a little
it?
weird crossing over, but we can.
You've flown private there before.
Cabo's super accessible. Cancun's a little bit more of a stretch.
How long was your surgery? 2 weeks?
Yeah, just over 2 weeks ago.
I
yeah.
think you got to wait a little bit longer for the injections in the knee.
Oh.
Right? But I think you could do the IV. I would just get the IV as soon as
Well,
possible.
So you're talking about, okay, hey, we went down to Mexico 2 weeks ago. I don't remember ever turning on the radio and you not being on.
Right.
And you'd say you're into cold plunge and saunas and all those. For 20 years, I would have an experience of you never missing a show.
Well, here's what we do. A lot of other shows, remember I told you we kind of do our own thing. We don't do what other people do.
Yeah.
And after doing what we do, I find out that a lot of shows go on vacation. Like, let's say the main guy, like if I go on vacation, the rest of the show goes on without me. And I always thought that was kind of neat because then it'd be like, oh, it doesn't sound right. You're missed. They miss you, right? It's good to be missed. But what Rich and I started doing is we were like, why don't we just never do that? And when our audience goes on vacation, if there's a holiday, we will put a best of on, old clips, right? That's on a holiday. But if I want to take a 2-week vacation, I let everybody know ahead of time. And what we do is we tape all new content. And then we have these 2 producers, Nick Johnson and Noah Lashley. They're brilliant behind the scenes guy. I don't know what we do without these guys. And these guys catalog everything, and it'll be like, I'll tape something and they'll say, this will go at 6:30 August 5th. And they know where it's going to run. And as we tape stuff, they catalog it all for weeks. So they know. So then we're doing it like in the 9 o'clock hour, we tape a couple things, or we'll tape something at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'll tape something. If War of the Roses is running along and it's taped, I might tape 2 calls there. And these guys just place them everywhere like a puzzle. And then also my 2-week vacation is filled out and it's all new content. And it's never been, and I didn't
know you were gone.
And you had no idea I was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless
so-
I followed you on social media. And
True,
saw
but
you
I
on
also
here.
try, when I do that, I'm very careful because also sometimes like when my son moved to Hawaii, he plays basketball in Hawaii, I would do the show from Hawaii and I was in the studio in Hawaii. So that was different. But when we do go on vacation, I try not to post anything after 10 so that people know, well, he could be in the studio there.
Yeah.
Right? I could be. We're in San Diego. When my kids were younger, I did the show a whole month in July from the studios in San Diego. So then I'd get off there at 10 and it'd be on the beach at 10:15 with my family, But I try to make sure there's continuity in what's happening on the air and on vacation so I don't screw with people's minds and they go, wait a minute, how are you there? That kind of stuff.
Can you speak to longevity and consistency? I would just think that, what time do you start each morning?
Start at 5.
Okay, so you start recording at 5.
We start,
Or you walk in the office at 5.
I get there about 4:55.
a.m.
5 o'clock to 6 o'clock is taped. We go live at 6. And when it comes to longevity and stuff, I mean, it's honestly, it's just fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It truly is. If something goes wrong, it's really not that bad. It's fun.
Yeah.
So I don't, I feel.
There's got to be some mornings that it's winter and your alarm goes off at
3
a.m. And you had something the night before, you didn't get to sleep on the time that you wanted to.
That's the negative is the lack of sleep and what happens when you function on no sleep as a human being. That's tough. I look back, as we talk about biohacking and trying to live longer and be healthier, I look back at the mistakes I've made in my life, and a lot of those mistakes were on lack of sleep. You don't realize how much you need sleep and how bad, like I catch myself now in the middle of the day or afternoon on no sleep and being grumpy and unreasonable. And I realize, oh man, I'm on no sleep, geez. And then the next day I'll wake up and I'll tell my wife, I'm so sorry for last night. I was, it's just like, you're almost unreasonable on no sleep, which is why like it's a torture. There's sleep torture, right? Because that's a way of torturing people's lack of sleep. Yeah. So
how do you deal with the 3 a.m. alarm goes off and you just don't want to get out of bed?
I've never had that.
Really?
Yeah, I've never had that. I get out of bed, I pop out of bed. Now, there are days like today, I was like, my wife and I have got this really cool routine on the weekends. And it was like, oh, it'd be so nice to just today to have done that routine today with her instead of going on the air. But I also had fun on the radio, so like I texted her after the show and I was like, oh man, I wish we could be here doing this right now. But also I did a radio show and had a lot of fun. It made a lot of people laugh. We had a lot of fun. Gave away tickets to concerts, made people happy, gave away a bunch of money. Like it's fun.
Yeah. There's a part of the business where you generate more income. And that's where you and I are connected a little bit. I had 2 friends that basically put their last dollar to their name in trusting in you. Mm-hmm. And it was either this is going to work or we don't have a business anymore, essentially, was where they were at. It was either going to work for them and that was going to be their next move, or they were going to possibly look at a different path. Mm-hmm. And now the end of that story has been pretty great. And there's this big part where they would give a lot of credit to a breakthrough success through trusting in you to help promote their brand.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. And I didn't know that at the time, right? That would have scared me. They would have told me at the time, but I like talking to them later and they were talking about how successful it was. But it was also, they have a really good product. And I also don't like to endorse something unless I fully believe in it.
Yeah.
I made the mistake. Remember I told you earlier, I've made decisions for money. I took a job because of money. Years ago, I've accepted endorsements because of the money, and then I didn't believe in it, and I regret it. So now I will only endorse a product that I believe in 100%. And your friend's product, they were really good. They still are.
Yeah.
They don't have it anymore. I still do their commercials because I love that product.
Yeah.
And the people that work there. Everybody I've met in the umbrella of your friends' companies.
Yeah. Green Mango Pest Control is who we're speaking about.
They also had a couple other channels.
Yeah, some other stuff.
And then I've met friends that have their own companies. They're like good people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think when you have good people, it just trickles down. It's really, but I really believed in that. And I enjoy them a lot. I'm so glad that they were able to, I'm so happy for them. I'm so happy for how successful they are. And I enjoy Cam's vacation videos.
Yeah.
So they talk about vacation. Chill. Right?
He's going to be gone for a little while. He's doing it. Liz might get the credit for that. I don't know if Cam gets all the credit for those from there.
Dang.
So talk to me about, you're a talent and somebody comes to you to promote their brand. How do you price your worth?
Well, I'm probably going to say something that's not smart, but I look at it. Most of the commercials that I do is a minute 60-second commercial. And let's say I do 20 of those a day. It's 20 minutes of my life. It's not that. It's okay. So some markets we're in Colorado, Texas, Northern California, I don't even charge them. I'm like, just close the deal. Let the radio station make money. Here in this market, it's a little bit more. There's a little bit more value, a little bit more whatever. So
your brand is pretty anchored here.
Yeah. And so I negotiate a lot with the salespeople, and I'm like, whatever, how's this number look, or how much are they spending? Because I think before it comes to me, they have to agree to be spending a certain amount of money a year on the radio station, and then they come to me with the talent fee, and I'm pretty laid back, and I want it to work too. I want to make sure that it's the right fit and it does work. Yeah. And I try to be a marketing partner with whoever it is. I actually have a different perspective now with it back. The way the job has evolved is I try to work with the client before. Here's your commercial, read it, right? Or they're using it, but whatever. Now I try to talk to the owner, and I'm like, hey man, what if I say this? Or does it work? The words that are on this piece of paper, people don't really talk like that. I like to make it my own language.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing with Green Mango. Their commercials were so great because they wrote it the way we talk.
Yeah. They wanted to, I remember them writing down, and then you would just make it so organic, and it would just, the way that you and Rich would bounce back and forth off of each other. And it was like, man, like, this is great. Like, this is working. But what would you say to someone that got approached and someone offered them money to promote a brand that they knew nothing about or maybe didn't even believe in? How would you handle that?
Are you saying they came to me through the radio station or just somebody in general?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of somebody listening that has a following right now, and they're getting approached by a brand. Maybe it's a clothing brand. Maybe it's a service company, and they're saying, hey, we would love for you to talk to your influence about our product.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to make sure that you believe in the product. Is it a good product? Do you like it? It's your name. If you're telling people to buy this clothing brand and after one wash it falls apart, then I'm going to hate your guts. Unless it's $6.
Yeah.
It's $6 for a T-shirt and you can wear it 3 times. If you're telling me it's $6, you can wear it 3 times, I knew what I was getting. But if you buy a T-shirt and it costs $45 and it falls apart after one time, hey man, why'd you tell me to get this shirt? I believe in you.
Yeah.
And I also wouldn't you don't want to burn, like I'm hoping, I believe that when you listen to my radio show and you hear me talking about a product, that I believe that it's going to work. Yeah. I honestly believe that. When I talk about a restaurant that I go to and I say it's delicious, it's because it's delicious, right? If I'm talking to you about a hyperbaric chamber, I'm telling you right now, that hyperbaric chamber is going to change your life. Yeah. You got to go to the one what I told you about. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of different ones, and some of them aren't real hyperbaric chambers.
And no toys.
When I tell you what to do, where to go, believe me.
Yeah.
Believe me, I'm telling you it works.
I can feel it. I can feel whatever. I can almost see it, the place in Mexico. Like, because I can feel the passion behind you. What would you say to this someone? Do you have like any sort of vetting advice that you would give to somebody? Is it just simply slow down, try it before you get caught up in the number?
It all depends on who the middleman is, who you work with. Like, I got a message today from some company, from a salesperson at the radio station, says that there's a microbiome company that wants to do national commercials. They want me to be their spokesperson. I don't know anything about microbiome. So they sent me the business. I sent it to my doctor. And I said, what do you know about this? And my doctor is amazing. She owns the Hyperbaric Clinic.
Okay.
She's been on podcasts with me. She's like, I've never heard of this brand before. She goes, but here's what we use. And she goes, give me a few. She comes back and she goes, oh my gosh, I researched it. The doctor that's part of this company, he's a great doctor. He's associated with a lot of great people. She goes, I would give you the okay to endorse this product, is what she said. I don't even know what it is yet, but knowing that she told me it's okay, I trust her completely. Yeah. So when I go to the meeting tomorrow, I'm going to be like, okay, tell me more about what this. I think it has something to do with gut health. So it'll be funny a year from now if we look back at this podcast, if it's this huge thing and I help launch it. This is the beginning part of it.
I can feel the passion behind what I would call self-worth or self-help, and I look at you as a business, and I can feel the passion behind the ice baths and the saunas and the those kind of things. Why are you doing that? You built success without it. Why are you doing it now, and why is it such a part of your routine?
Here's the truth behind that. I do it completely to be around for my kids. My father died at a very young age. My mother died at a young age. I was extremely overweight. And my kids, I remember laying on the floor, and the way I let my kids play with me is they'd crawl on me. I was too out of shape to do anything. So now my kids are all 3 of them are very athletic, and they're young men now. And I want to be with them. I want to cliff jump with them. I want to go hike on top of a mountain with them. I want to go ride bikes with them. I want to do everything with them. And that's why I'm doing what I do. I'm trying to be as healthy as possible. And I feel really good. I feel that hey, let's go mountain biking. Hey, let's go. I can do it.
Where have you seen a change of, I'll just use a number, 50 pounds heavier Johnjay than today's Johnjay from an energy standpoint or from a performance standpoint, whether that's in your partnership?
I have a lot more energy. My dad used to tell me, my dad was like really wise dude, man, so ahead of his time. But he used to tell me, he's like, how much do you want to weigh? And I was like, I was like 340.
It's like, you're on the radio. Who cares? No one will see you.
Yeah. But he'd be like, how much you want to weigh? I go, 220. I think 220 is my ideal weight. And he said, then you need to act like someone who weighs 220. And someone who weighs 220 isn't sitting on their ass on the couch watching TV all day. Someone who weighs 220 isn't drinking a bottle of Dr. Pepper every night and eating pizza every night before bed, right? So I've got that in my head all the time. Now I weigh about 240 right now. And I think 240 is good for me. I think I could go 235, 230, because since then I put on a lot of muscle. The 220 was like a dream weight. I did weigh 220 at one time, but I think I looked a little ill. So that's kind of the difference in 50 pounds. When I'm 50 pounds heavier, I'm maybe not as motivated to go do something. You know, I set these goals for myself and I try to hit them all the time. My most recent goal right now I made this year was to get at least 10,000 steps a day. And what that's done for me, like if I'm sitting on the couch and it's 6 o'clock and I'm at 8,000 steps, I get up and I go walk, even if it's 110 degrees. So I just bought a treadmill yesterday so I can get my steps in.
Yeah.
So you got to set goals for yourself and you have to hit those goals, or pass them up. And I do that. I write my goals down every day.
Yeah.
And I try to do it every day.
And your Whoops, your tracker?
I got my Whoop.
Love
I got
it.
my Whoop. I got an Oura ring. I want to get the 8 Sleep mattress. That's the next one. Do you have that? Have you seen that?
No. But I found a hack. My Whoop data increased my first night by 73% by the combination of the mouth tape and the nasal opening.
Get out.
73%
My
night
son
one.
wears the mouth tape every night.
The combination. Now the mouth tape is good for me personally. I just feel better when I wake up. But you do I have a deviated septum. Mm-hmm. When I do the nostril strips and the mouth tape, I don't get a better REM.
So you snore if you didn't have it?
No snoring.
Oh, okay.
Just don't have as deep of a REM cycle. I have way more awakening events.
Okay, don't you have those nose strips? Maybe I'll try those tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The combination of the two is the best.
So I sleep with a thing too.
Yeah, but that's the one. That's the move. Yeah. So talk to somebody right now that has a dream that seems far-fetched. I get to go do what I love, talk on the radio with my friends, talk about current events, what I'm interested in, what I'm passionate about, and they've got someone in their corner telling them it's a pipe dream.
Oh, I wouldn't listen to them. You have to believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, write down your goals and go after them and come up with a plan, write down the goals, pass those goals up. I remember I would go to this church, and the pastor there, his name was Terry Christ. And I remember he was like, pray, like, it wasn't obnoxiously. He was like, what? Pray, but no, well, my dad used to say, think big, you're thinking anyway. Think big. And the preacher said, he was like, be bold with your prayer, and God, I want to say audacity. Is that it? Anyway, I would say just think big, pray big, and reach for the moon, and you'll get it. That's how I always look at it. Like I always look at it. Like I tell my kids, I was like, like reach for here, but if you get here, it's really good too. Yeah. Right? But you got to reach for here. It's like a punch. I remember I went through a boxing phase, and I remember the guy when I was taking these boxing classes. He was like, all right, so here's my head, right? So you want to punch my head, but you want to aim for back here. So you're going through my head. And I think that's how the goals should be. The goal's here, go through it. But if you land here, it's pretty damn good. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I have a horrible way of explaining that. I got to come with a better way, but that's a great question.
I'm following you. I think the visual on the YouTube side of this, I think that they'll see that. I can hear it. Yeah. I have the financial background. I'm in finance. We're doing a financial literacy series. You were able to build a life that gives you the freedom to go visit a son in Hawaii or do I see at the Suns games, those kind of things. Do you have any financial principles that you learned along the way by, having success in business that you could share with anyone?
You want to know some great financial advice I got from somebody, and maybe it's not great financial advice, and you might even know this person. Do you guys know Jeff Whiteman?
Yeah.
Jeff. I've known Jeff since I was in 8th grade.
No way.
Yeah. Jeff has an amazing life, and that dude lives life to the fullest.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I have Suns tickets, one of the reasons I made some of the purchases that I've made is advice that Jeff Whiteman gave me. He said to me, life is about experiences. You got to have these experiences. Now, with that, maybe I don't make the best financial decisions, but I'm giving my wife, my kids, and me experiences that they're going to remember, core memories that they're going to remember forever. So I'm hoping I'm financially set. I think we're like if the show ended tomorrow, I think we're good. But I also am hoping to give my kids core memories to have forever because of the experiences. And I learned all that from my friend Jeff Whiteman.
Yeah.
I'm not the best because I'll call my wife, dude, believe me, we bought 2 pizza places and lost our butts on pizza. It was like, we bought an oil well and a couple oil wells, didn't go. Like, I have horrible financial advice.
Yeah, well, according to who?
According to the oil well went dry, the pizza places went bankrupt.
Yeah, I think that I have a good friend, Jason, that says that you come out of stuff with confidence or experience.
Yeah, I came out with both of those.
And I don't have a playbook of what people, I'm going to stand on a soapbox and tell people what they should be doing with their money.
Right.
I want to give people a platform where they can listen to people that are creating stuff in the world, or someone they might look up to, or are just curious, and find alignment. And if they could hear that you got advice from somebody that is very, very well off, and he told you if he was to give you any financial advice, it was to have experience, man, I would hope that resonates with somebody and it aligns with somebody. And yeah, Dave Ramsey might not agree with that all the way, but I'm not looking for that.
My dad died at 66 with a heart attack. He had paid off his condo, he paid off his car, and that was it. Right? So it was like, I don't know if I need to die with a lot of money in the bank.
Yeah.
I'd like to die with my kids going, man, my dad did everything that he wanted to do, and we lived a good life.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be private jets.
No.
But it's all kinds of stuff.
My dad, it's a special week. We just did a solo podcast on my dad. So his passing anniversary, his Father's Day, and his birthday are all this week.
Whoa.
And I feel that he didn't have any regrets. And it was because he prioritized us. I think he could have went and made a lot more money. And I think he chose, how can I give my family the life that I can be proud of? But at the same time, I'm not missing anything.
That's what I'm talking about. I want to live the way your dad did.
Yeah.
When did he pass?
7 years ago this week.
How?
Yeah, Alzheimer and dementia.
How old is he?
Right before his 70th birthday.
That's young.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the youngest cases that Banner had seen.
Wow.
Yeah. He went from not being diagnosed at my wedding to not knowing who I was at my 3-year anniversary. It was really quick. Yeah. But if I could take anything from him, it was that all I have is this memory of him giving me time. And so he did enough to give us a good life. Like I would think I was overly fortunate, spoiled even, is how I would describe my childhood growing up. But man, if he just spent half the time he did with me working more, he could have, chased whatever he was chasing. But man, I don't think he went with any regrets. And it was, he didn't overextend himself. He didn't over leverage. He didn't believe in leverage. So he stayed within his means. And once he hit that point, it was experiences with the people that matter most.
I always try to do the same with my kids. I was like, no matter how tired I am or whatever I'm doing, if they ever asked me to go play catch or asked me to go do something, I would drop whatever I was doing to go do it. It got to the point where they were so active where I'd be like, why don't you guys watch TV? Why don't you guys play more video games? Because they always wanted to do something. I was telling my son the other day, I go, we would go out in the front yard and throw the football for hours, and the kid never got tired. Right? My arm was hurt. Right?
I've got 2 of them.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I remember it was like 8 o'clock at night. I'm like, I got to go to sleep. But man, you just go out there and do it.
Tell us, most people know where to follow you and how to find you. Confirm that just in case.
Well, hopefully you listen on iHeartRadio. You can download the Johnjay and Rich on-demand podcast, but we're on live on Kiss FM Phoenix. You can listen to us no matter where you are on the iHeart app live on Kiss FM Phoenix. Instagram, all social media. I'm at John J. Van S, and our show is Johnjay and Rich.
Yeah.
And then my wife's got Love Pup Plus, right? That's the big thing. Our dog rescue's Love Pup. Dog Rescue, the Love Pup Foundation. Her new business is Love Pup Plus, which is now, it's this amazing interactive concept. It's an app for dog people. So if you have dogs, this is everything you need in this app.
Yeah.
It's genius.
What do you mean everything?
Everything. So let's say you have a dog.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm a dog person. We had a dog pass this last year.
Okay. So let's say you're going to look for a dog.
Yep.
You want a dog. Well, you go to this app or this website and you put in they're going to help you find a dog, hopefully a rescue dog. But let's say you do get a dog. They call it the gotcha day. Let's say 6 months go by. Let's say you call the dog Ginger. They're going to be like, hey, James, Ginger is 6 months old. She needs this, this, and this, and this. Or let's say Ginger ate a bottle of Tylenol. You go to that. Hey, Ginger ate a bottle of Tylenol. What do I do? Hey, give her a tablespoon of sugar or a tablespoon of salt. Like there's all kinds of different things. This app has everything. And it has AI to help you give you the best of the best, not just the sponsored products. Am I right? Am I missing anything out? That's
Yeah.
yeah. So she's looking for investors too.
You hear that? I saw that. I was looking at the point. I was like, you pointing to Dawson or you pointing?
I'm pointing
You're
you
pointing
and
the
Cam.
camera.
You and Cam.
Well, listen, when you have the combination of a good product and good people, I find that money can come.
Yeah, I think her idea is genius. It's going to be. I'm not even selling it properly, but when you see it, it's huge. It's going to be big.
Yeah, I love that.
I mean, the dog business is like a $40 billion business, the pet business, right? And this isn't even trying to make money. This is just because so many people message her because of our dog rescue. What do I do with this? My dog is this. Where do I call for this? So we're like, wait a minute. Let's just create. You fill a need.
Yeah,
and that's all coming together.
Well,
that's maybe the AI stuff. She needs to talk about AI.
Well, I find that when you have a great product like that and the result is making money, you can have a really great influence.
Exactly.
And you can grow and grow and grow. Man, I'm more grateful than anything for people that are willing to give time. I'm sure you had many places to be. I'm sure that you were up at 3 a.m. We started recording this 12 hours later than when you started your day. I'm so grateful for it. I hope that I see you more than once every 3 years.
I did too. It was really nice meeting you. Officially.
Yeah. Getting to know you more and more. Any other message you send everyone off with?
Oh, thanks for having me. It was. I am a little tired, so when I look back at this podcast, I might be like, why did I say that? Oh, why did I say that? Or we're going to get in the car and she's going to be like, you were good. Was it good? Also, I forgot to say this. That was good, Hug. Dawson, I forgot to tell you when you walked in, you have beautiful eyes. You get that? You get that all the time? Sometimes. Do you? Not just sometimes? Not every day? Oh.
That's what my wife told me.
She said you have beautiful eyes?
Got her right in. You have as an enduring personality as anyone out there, which is why I think you've had the success that you had. So I wouldn't think that you would have a regret in the world of just opening
trying to be as
to
authentic
people.
as possible, especially now. The evolution of life and looking back at things. It's just kind of like I'm really happy where I am now. Just happy in all aspects of life.
Yeah.
And I think journaling has helped too. It helps me. I get so stressed out journaling because I'm like, what are the great positive? And stressed out is not the right word. But I wake up in the morning, I got to journal the things that I'm really grateful for. And it's fun to come up with things that I'm grateful for. Like, oh, yeah, that's great,
Yeah.
Even today, her and I were in the pool today, swimming before we came here. And we're just talking about how beautiful our backyard is, which Dusty made.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I have so many ties to you, dude.
Yeah, that's it. I remember it. And I just remember him sketching it all up and getting with you and all the stuff.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.